Hey people, this is some funny shit. I was reading in Psalm 75, and I shot over here to check out Facebook, and this Bishop Robert Barron had left this note that the Catholic Church has been a huge patron of the sciences throughout history, perhaps even science's biggest patron. And this is from Dr. Dick DeClue. And so I had to leave a note. So what's in that red drink Esau traded his birthright for? So I was just jerking his chain. I know exactly what's in that red drink, and it has the instructions here in Psalm 75. You can see, for a cup there is in the hand of Yahweh, and the wine is red, and it is fully mixed, and he pours from this, surely it dredges shall drain, and drink down all the wicked of the earth. But I will declare forever, I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. And that's where your clue is. It's the God of Jacob. And it's over here in Genesis 25. It's a real quick story. And then Jacob and Esau starts at 19. And they're not born until 25, and came out the first ruddy all over, like a cloak hairy. So they called his name Esau. And it's important to get why they called the names. 26, and afterward came out his brother holding the heel of Esau, and was called his name Jacob. And Isaac old was 60 years when she bore them. And so that just doesn't fit at all, because this is line 26, and there's no Rebecca anywhere in here. And then just down in 29, he sells his birthright, and cooked Jacob up a stew. And came in Esau from the field, and he's weary, and said Esau to Jacob, feed me please with that red stew. The red stew is the Adam, the same word they say is man, the Adam. Feed me some of that red stew. And upon thus his name was called Edom, which is actually backwards M-U-D, and mud, a mata root, that means red. But said Jacob, sell me as this day your birthright to me. Said Esau, behold, I am about to die of moot. So what this to me birthright? And said Jacob, swear to me as this day. So he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau some bread and stew of lentils. But you see, this lentils is spelled the Odysseys, O-A-O-D-S-I-S. The final M is a S. Odysseys, as in the writings of Homer. And then he ate and drank, and arose and went on his way, thus despised Esau his birthright. And you see they spell this birthright a couple different ways. This is actually backwards and forwards, but, the bucker, they say the firstborn, to the bucker, is to the firstborn, but she actually reads backwards and forwards as tack, and it's to the rock be incure, K-R-E. But this time before this, in 33, when it comes up, it's to with the tack again. It's what trick, Vav, T-R-K, what trick in cartouche, K-R-T-U, in the cartouche. Your cartouche is where your name goes in Egypt, and what trick in the cartouche. And then will, lie of in, L-I-O-Q-P-H-N-B-N, to the what trick in cartouche a lie of in. And this other time, it's this is these lie bucker, the firstborn. And in 31, it's backwards and forwards again, but it's still spelled different. It ends with a K. It's to 2K is to give trick, T-R-K, of bucker take. To give the trick of bucker take, to trick him out of his birthright. So this over here in Psalm 75, this is the main reason they had to change the language of the Bible. Because it tells, give Ka, the giving hand. Ka, the open hand, is to give. And the Yod is the hand, to give works. To give the works. To give the works low, L-O-L-A, low. To give low, mimosa. To give under the mimosa root is what it's saying. To give low mimosa, under the mimosa. To memor, M-M-O-R, and B means in. To memorin, to memory, to remember. Will, W-L-A, will. From mudbar, arise. From the mudbar. And so they say it's from the south, but this is the title of the book of Numbers. And they'll give it all kind of meanings. Sometimes it's the wilderness. Most of the time it's the wilderness. Sometimes it's the desert. And sometimes it's the swamp. Sometimes it's the mudbar. It's wherever they needed to be at the time. But like I say, it's the title of the book of Numbers. It's the Hebrew title of the book of Numbers. And usually dibber, they say, means word. And to give low mimosa, to memor in will, from mudbar, arise, E-R-I-S, arise. And so what's low of mimosa, that's what I cook my red drink out of. And it's some badass shit. It'll make you trade your birthright. And the problem is, your birthright is to be a slave. And once you drink this red drink, you are no longer a slave. You've done seen death is what happens. It's the red drink and you see death. And it's right here. For a cup in the hand of Yahweh, and the wine is red and is fully mixed, and he pours from this, surely it dregs shall drink down all the wicked of the earth. And you're no longer a slave once you had this red drink. And that's the whole reason they had to change the language in here. And I'll read from the top of it, and it in the Greek it's just the ceremony. It talks about oh Theo, oh Theo. They're dressed up and having the ceremony. But it explains more of what's in it in this one. So I'm going to try to do this fast. We give thanks for your name is near. But what it says is Le Mans. Le Mans is a cat. The chief musician, the cat. Le Mans, and then backwards it starts with an A. It reads backwards to L-A, and then backwards and forwards after this tack. The let this, T-H-S. Let this to shit. T-S-H-T, to shit. Mazum ware of asp. An ASP is a serpent. And so the cat let this to shit mazum ware of asp. To shit, is to destroy. And it's spelled different ways, S-H-I-T. Sometimes C-H-I-T, they'll spell it different. But, shittum is the acacia. The acacia tree is what they say. And every time it says, and you shall burn incense on the altar of acacia, that's what it actually says is shittum. And so this mimosa acacia, this is what I use to make my red drink. And it's like this, except it's with the yellow flower. And looks like you can even buy the powder here on Amazon. I wouldn't know. I bought my stock years ago from a good company. And there's no telling what they sell you now. And when I was a kid, I used to even have these growing out here. It was this yellow flowered acacia, and I don't see them anywhere anymore. I think they had the Forestry Commission destroy them all. This acacia here, but this is the mimosa acacia that has the highest content of DMT in it, is what it's talking about. And so the cat, the Le Mans, let this to shit from somewhere. And usually this means it's written on the bathroom wall, from somewhere of asp, of the serpent. Sir. You see it starts just like a letter, sir, S-I-R, sir. The wood in will give. W-D, wood, I-N-W-L-K. The wooden will give. And then you hit this line and this reads backwards. The call, K-L. To call when need do, D-U-E. The call when need do. Rise, R-I-S. From yellow. It starts with A, it reads backwards. From Y-E-L-A. From the yellow acacia, the yellow shittim of mimosa. The wooden will give, the call when need do. Rise, when need do rise. Anytime you need to experience death, it's a good drug. It works for all kinds of things. It's real good for bronchitis, asthma, and for drug addicts. You want to give them an overdose, and they'll meet death, and they'll probably cure themselves after they meet death. See what's on the other side. And from yellow, the same word, the wood into. The E, the W-D-I-N, Vav is connected in these two. The wooden two. From yellow, the wooden two. And then offer, U-F-R, U-V, the offer of. The wooden to offer of. It's always on the offering table of acacia. The wooden to offer of. Smack. The smack, the same give, the name to consume from, the same give, spiru, S-P-R-U. That's the same word as spirit, minus the T at the end. The T is the mark. The sparrow, nipple, what tick. Your wondrous works. This is the same word as your Nephilim. Except it's not followed by the M, and even Nephilim's not followed by the M because a final M is an S. But that's the Spiro, Nephil, what, W-T-I-K, what tick, what makes the Nephila tick, the Spira Nephila, what tick. And so everybody says, oh, but the Nephilim, those were the evil giants. No, the people who told you that were the same people who changed the rest of this language, and they made them evil giants because they would not be slaves. Oh, that's evil if you won't be a slave. The spear to Nephil, what tick. And then give works, to give the work, starts with A, it reads backwards, to chafe, to chet, to C-H-Q, F. To chafe, to chafe, to scratch the outside. To give chafe from wood, W-O-D, M is from. To give chafe from wood in, backward, starts with A, in knowledge, from is rise, tops. Starts with A backwards, the tops. To give chafe from wood in knowledge, from his rise, tops. Whatever wood we were talking about at the top over here, that's the wood that you're going to give chafe. You're going to scratch the bark off of its roots. To give chafe from wood in knowledge, from his rise, the tops. And then numbage is share to cull. And we'll go ahead and go with dissolve. Dissolve this down. And most of these words you'll see in this chapter, most of the words in the Bible only come up one time. But, that's what it says in melt or dissolved, melt. It only comes up this one time. We can't really compare it well. And then we can look at it. The N is the seed, M is from, G is to lift, works from. The seed from lift, works from, whatever what your seed, what you're starting with, your mimosa root bark, the nummage. And then starts with A and it's backwards, the share. The share is all the herbs. The nummage share to cull, to collect, to cull. And then backwards and forwards, they bush is by, they, backwards starts with A, they can't, canty. They can't, canty. Can't is, is the cantilevers to hang over the bushes. They can't, canty, to sit up firmly. Canty is sprightly, cheerful and sprightly. So if you got a mimosa tree in the yard, you'll notice, very seldom do they grow up straight. If you put them out in the middle of the yard, they might grow up almost straight like a tree, but it won't have a single trunk. It'll sprout out and go different ways, but mine canty. It must be 40 foot tall, but it's only 15 foot up because it's growing totally sideways, and it's canty. It's sideways, springingly. It's happy to be growing there. It's because there's an oak tree above it, and they often grow under bush and they grow sideways, and that's exactly what this is saying. Is the nummage share to cull, they bushes by, they can't, K-N-A-T, K-N-T-Y, they canty, the cantilever, to hang over, canty, firmly, to hang over firmly. O-M, to see from, the wood dye, D-I-E, the dye sail. And that's where I buy it. I buy mimosa dye, it's called. And the sail, the S, the support, divine life is the sail. S-A-L-E, the dye sail. To see from wood dye sail. Nummage is share to cull. They bushes by, they canty, home to die sail. And backwards starts with the A. It trim of the willies, law let tell to. Will ratio is law, my right rhyme of fearing. It trims of the willies. The willies, some give you the hibby-jibbies, the willies, something you fear. And it trims of the willies of the L-A, backwards, W, the law let. And then back the other ways, to tell to. The law is telling you, you better fear this, but it trims the willies that the law let tell to. Will ratios, be rationable, rash, the ratios. Will ratios, law, L-A, backwards, L-A, and then backwards and forwards. The law, my right, R-T, my writ, rhyme to fearin, Q-R-N, F-R-N. And the law, my right, rhyme to fearin. The law is fearing what the rhyme I'm writing. Law me right rhyme, will more us franks to dibber, of it swear at of. And so, the law me right rhyme to, or rhyme will, R-Y-M-W-L, will more us, M-R-U-S, will more of us Franks. Franks is the Frenchmen that were fighting back against the Chiro, the Romans. To, the mark, the writings of Dibber, the language, the mark of the language and then UV. The B is a V here. Vets, VTS. To dibber, to speak of what. There is no not in here. Not, they usually say it's, sometimes they say it's L. Most of the time they say it's La. See, sometimes they say this is God. They just make it all up as they go along. But, yeah, the Franks to talk of, not talk, but to yes talk. To dibber, to talk of its where at. To see the mark. To see the mark at of. Q, the center, at center. The dibber, the talk of its where at center. To give low mimosa, to give under mimosa, to memor in, to the waters from sea first in, to see first in, to memor your past life, to give low mimosa, to memor in, will from the numbers arise. Give from yell, all this spot is they spill, use they rise. Give from yell, holler out loud, all this, E is THEIS, this, all this spot is they, Z is they, EYTHEY, is they spill, he puts down, they spill, use arise, use EYTHEY, they rise. Kick us bid, who they have, how in come first. And then all reads backwards after this line. First making Jew way die in suck jack. This is the first time that this is Yahweh here. And this is the first make. You see the H here is the chet. It's a CHMCH. First make, and then the NI is like ING, making, and then JUE, the Jew way. The Jew way, the die in suck jack. And so jack is a quick preparation. If you're drinking jack, it's wine that you added a lot of yeast in to prepare it quick. To kick us the bid, who they have, how in come first. First making the Jew way, the die in suck jack. Mala, fill, this is tamale. The fill musk, who grims, GRMZ, grims the ka. Who the musk who grims the ka. Grim Reaper. The death, the Grim Reaper, to grims. The musk who grims the ka. The ka is your living spirit, is one of the parts of your soul in Egypt. And who kills, who grims the ka. And then backwards and forwards. Hiram's merry they mix, who stew colors, how share Rex, the drugs, RX. Hiram, HIRM. Hiram is the master architect of Solomon's temple, and he's one of the great of the Freemasons, one they worship. And it's higher from. Hiram's merry they mix. And then the vav and the yod, why or who or how stew, stew. Remember that red stew that Jacob cooked up? How stew, and then colors. The colors, how share the drugs. And so you can see this in that movie I did on tie-dyes, But it was a 13th company. The hires of Mary, they mix who stew colors. They mix up the colors. And so the dye and the drugs is all the same. When you buy this, it'll come all ground up. You get it, shavings or powdered. It's called Mimosa hostilis, natural dye, not for human consumption. And so it's sold as a dye. In order to extract the color or drugs out of it, you have to break it down. In order to get the drugs out of it, you're gonna add just enough heat lye to get it to flash. It's going to go from a red to a purple, and once it flashes dark, you don't want any more heat to it. That's where you want to stop. It's going to turn into a dye. It's going to be this color, and that's what it means. The Hiram's marry, they mix, how stew the colors, how share the drugs. The ones who's the 13th company, the ones who's making the dyes share the drugs. To any digalo, backwards, D-I-G-A-L-O. To any digalo, like a gigolo, he's selling what he's digging low. To any digalo, lesser mazala lay joking. To any digalo, lesser mazala, a lesser drugs, a mazala, M-Z-A-L-A. Mazala is ingredients, the lesser ingredients. If you look at my movie on the tie-dye, it'll explain that much. To any digalo, lesser mazala, lay joking. To cull inner cranny, rush house, so dig at true, from men crown what side of, to decide the side of. To cull inner cranny, inside the head, inner cranny, the rush, how, oh, why, how, so dig at true, so dig it through, from men the crown what side of, the men of the men, M-N-E, the men crown what decide of. The men of the crown are deciding. This usually judges. Anything with the XDI is the judges, the side of, to call inner cranny, to what's going on inside the head. The rush how is so dig, the rush how so dig at through, from men of the crown what side of. So if you don't understand this, Google DMT trip and read up on it a little bit. And that's the highest content. That's the best place to get DMT, is through the Cache Mimosa. And that's what this is all talking about. And that's what they're trying to hide. When you do it, the death comes out. You look death in the face. And then you find out, oh, that's not such a bad place on the other side. And you're no longer a slave. And this is why they had to change the entire writings of all the Bible. They completely made up a whole new story. They changed the meaning of every word. There's nothing in your King James Version that came out of the original Bible. They had to hide all this when all the regular people learned how to read. This was just a book for the kings. It was never meant for you. And so that's the whole reason they rewrote the fairy tale. So, there's only two kinds of Christians. There's most of them just don't have a clue. They don't understand. They don't know. And then there's the ones that do know and don't want me to be free. They want me to be a slave. And either side you're on, if you're just one that don't know, or you're one that knows and want me to be a slave the rest of my life. Either way, you're fighting for the same team, whether you know it or not. So when the war breaks out, you're on the other side, whether you know what you're doing or not. Ignorance is no excuse for the law. And if you're a Christian, you fear death, this is what you need to do, because it'll trim of the willies the law let tell to. What they told you, how to fear the other side, it'll trim of the willies. And will Rash show his law for my right rhyme to fearing. Alright, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.